All right. I want to talk to you about something that I think is important. I try to only talk to you about things that I think are important. So I guess that's not new. I'd like to talk to you about the importance and of course, the challenge of being yourself, why it matters, why you are the right person to be yourself. It really is up to you. There's nobody else who can do it. And I think that seen in one way, the society that you live in is working against you. Seen in this particular way, society is doing everything it can to persuade you, to threaten you. Don't be yourself, it says. Be like everybody else. Fit in. How dare you have the audacity to be different, to think for yourself, to have desires that are your own, to be unusual, strange, awkward, to go against the mainstream. Just be quiet, fit in, don't rock the boat. And if you do rock the boat, if you do stand out, then there's going to be hell to pay for that. So, seen in this particular way, that's what society is doing. Seen from a slightly different angle, society, in exactly the same way, through exactly the same methods, is actually supporting you in being yourself. Because if you didn't have that to push against, if you didn't have that would give you some feedback in that way, that would check you, that would say, "Are you sure?" Then it would be difficult, maybe even impossible, to fully be yourself. So it's a double-edged sword, society. Society is your enemy and society is your ally. And it really depends on how you choose to perceive it. Uh, Now I know about these things firsthand. I mean, that's the only way I can really know about it. Uh, when I was, I don't know exactly how old that would have been. It's 12, 13, 14, in that age range. I was in middle school in middle America, Southern Illinois. Uh, and I wanted, I thought I wanted so badly to fit in. So what was stylish at that time was tight rolled jeans. I don't know if anybody here remembers that style, that particular fashion, but had to be Levi's, couldn't be other brands of jeans because other brands of jeans were not as fashionable. So it had to be Levi's, and they had to be tight rolled in a particular way at the bottom of the pants. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure you could Google it and find out. Tight rolled jeans, early 1990s fashion in America. That's right, 501. Somebody here knows. 501. That's right. Button fly. But this is not an advertisement for retro jeans. This is about being yourself. So every morning I would get up early, not to be with myself, not to attend to myself, not to actually care for myself, but to groom myself so that I would not stand out, so that I would not attract bullying. I would bathe and I would uh, style my hair. I had hair gel. Can you imagine that? I was too young to need to shave, although I might have shaved, maybe, to keep the peach fuzz off. Uh, and put on my 501 jeans, tight roll them, put on I don't remember the names of the brands of shirts, but I had the brands of shirts. And I would do all of this because as I said, I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to attract unwanted attention. Now, I couldn't have told you that at the time. All I knew was that it was really, really important. I would obsess about these things. I had to have the right clothes. They had to be clean. They had to be uh, done up in the right way. I had shirts that I had to iron because I didn't want them to have wrinkles in them. Uh, and what did I get for that? Well, on the one hand, I got a lot of misery, a lot of misery, a lot of ignorance. I had no idea who I was. I did not occur to me. Didn't the thought of the question of who am I? What matters to me? What is my path? What is my life? What is my purpose? Why am I here? These questions did not occur to me. All that I thought about was just don't get hurt. Just don't get hurt. Just get through. And that started actually a number of years before. I remember when I was, must have been fifth grade, and uh, my, I was informed that uh, I smelled bad, that I needed to start to wear deodorant so that I would not offend people. Who would have known? I think everybody has to have this, has to be informed of this. If not, I mean, there are those few rare individuals who don't, but otherwise, who would know? Have to be informed. Somebody has to tell you this uncomfortable, awkward thing. Say, you know, this change has occurred in you, and now all of a sudden, nature has conspired so that you're going to smell offensive to other people, and you need to take care of that because otherwise, other people will think badly of you. And actually, it had started some time before that. I don't remember exactly when, but I remember that I had this awkward realization, must have been around fourth grade, that my chest did not appear as masculine as was expected by others and therefore by me. And so I felt I was bullied, teased, and I felt humiliated about this. And so I sought to try to change this by all kinds of odd ideas that came to my mind. I mean, this was pre-internet. So uh, I really feel for the children today who have access to the internet because as awful as that was, I imagine it's only worse today. So, but I had all kinds of odd ideas. You know, I thought, okay, I need to, if I just stretch, somehow that's going to fix things. If I do push-ups, that's going to fix things. If I just do, these things. At one point, after I'd done all those things and none of that seemed to work, then I decided, well, I got one of those long elastic bandages, comes in a roll, and I wrap that around my chest so that when I would put a shirt on over that, then I appeared what I thought would be more normal. Uh, but then, of course, I was insecure. What if people can tell that I have a bandage wrapped around my chest underneath my shirt? So for years, I was just obsessed with not attracting unwanted attention. And I went to uh, tremendous lengths. Now, after between my in the middle of my middle school years in middle America, I one day decided enough. I've had enough of all of this. I'm gonna change myself. I decided the problem, my one problem in life had to be, it must be that I was fat. That must be it. And therefore, I needed to change that. And logically, I reasoned that the way to do that would be to stop eating fat. Makes sense, in a way, to a 13-year-old kid, pre-internet, living in middle America with no support system. And to be fair, it was also America was experiencing this fat-free craze. Everything was fat-free, non-fat. It was all, fat was the enemy. So I decided, oh, I'll just stop eating all dietary fat. That will solve my problem. I went all in on that, uh, which just began a whole new set of problems. But this was the self-torment, because I was trying to fit in rather than honoring the and treasuring the unique gift that I was given to steward, which would be myself, right? We're each given this unique gift to steward, which is ourselves. You have been given a unique gift to steward, which is you. But society teaches us, at least if we see it in this particular way, society teaches us you are the problem. You are the problem. You're not a gift. You're the problem. You should hide. You should try to change yourself because you're a problem. And I think this has only gotten worse. Like everything is a problem now. Now I know it's not necessarily. Now I know there's this whole, at least in America, there's this movement toward, inclusivity. No, nothing and nobody's a problem. But just notice, okay, not a problem. Still kind of a problem though. It's like we can give lip service to it's not a problem, but it's a problem. And now there's such a diversity of problems. Before it was like, now I'm going to say something here, and some people are going to get upset about this, but that's okay. I'm not trying to upset people with this. I'm just going to be myself. So when I was a child, uh, there was there were in the public school system that I attended, there were three tracks. Okay, there was the like middle of the road, normal, average track, which was the majority of the children. So most of the children were in the, just they were labeled as average. They were labeled, they weren't really given any label whatsoever in particular. They were just, you're just like everybody else. You're just normal. No particular attention given to them. Then there were they called it gifted students, which really meant the ones who performed well on the tests. Okay. But so they were uh siloed, you're the gifted students. And then there were the special education students. Now, special education at that time in the schools that I attended were uh that was a catch-all for any kind of learning difficulties. Okay, so whether the kids were had I mean anything. I mean, there were kids in there who were in wheelchairs. There were kids in there who had cerebral palsy. There were kids in there who were um had I suspect various forms of brain damage. Uh there were kids in there who were today would be labeled as ADD, ADHD, neurodivergent. I mean, they would be labeled all kinds of things. They're all thrown into this classroom together because the school's like, we don't know what to do with them. I mean, they're not gifted and they don't fit in the middle of the road track, so we'll just put them in this special education. Well, now this is the part that some people are going to get upset about. So let me preface it by saying maybe there is some genuine benefit that has come from more awareness around the unique learning styles that people have. I think that there is. I think there's some real benefit from that. But the problem also is it cuts both ways because now, because now there's, I don't even know. I mean, there's probably endless variations now. Before it was like, okay, you're just special education. You're just special. Now, there, has a special, unique problem. That special, unique problem, that's you. You are the special, unique problem. There's something wrong with you, and you come up with probably a dozen or more labels to throw at that, right? I mean, you can call yourself a lot of different things. And so now you got a whole bunch of ways to describe the problem of you. And the internet and well-intentioned therapists and organizations of all sorts, which again, probably it cuts both ways. There are probably benefits in this, but it can lead to this problem that I'm describing here or pointing to here, which is, okay, now you got to fix it. You got to fix this problem of you. You got a dozen labels. You got a dozen different things that you got to do to fix the dozen different problems that you have. And I wonder, and I know some people are gonna, I can already anticipate some of the comments on YouTube. People are gonna get, they're gonna get upset about this. Honestly, though, I say this with as much humility as I can muster. I admit I can be wrong. I'm mostly wrong, but I'm also there's some I'm there's value nonetheless. I'm convinced in what it is that I'm sharing, and if a person is not willing to mine for that value, if they're going to just throw it all out, as they say, throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you're just going to dismiss the value because you say, oh, but Joey said that there's special education and I can't stand it. And, then I guess this isn't for you, and that's okay because there's something for you. And if this isn't it, then that's okay. I really am glad that we can identify that so that you don't have to waste time on something that's not for you. But for those who are kind of on the fence a little bit and you're like, oh, but I'm offended and I think I'm going to dismiss it, maybe you could uh, consider, could you just mine for the value? Could you just be willing to set aside the prejudices for a minute and just hear and receive what it is that's of value here? Because the point is this, that subtly, the message is there's something wrong with you, and that is you. You're the problem. There's something wrong with you. And and again, I know some people are going to say, no, 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 that's not it. You've misunderstood, Joey. That's not it at all. And I'm just saying, would you be willing just to consider this point of view and see how there might be something of value here for you? Where if you're willing to hear this, then maybe this could offer you a new level of freedom, a new level of freedom, and uh, not just freedom, but direction. If you ever have the sense of feeling like you don't have purpose or direction, if you're lacking clarity, if you feel confused in life, then my proposal here is that that is probably because you're still perceiving in some way that there's something wrong with you that needs to be fixed instead of receiving the the gift that you have been given to steward, which is you. Because, see, if you start from the assumption that there's a problem, then that colors everything. You're going to be seeing life through the lens that there's a problem. And society will conspire together with you and it will say, yes, there's a problem. Let's solve it together. Just tight roll your jeans. That will do it for you. Just iron your shirts. That will do it for you. Just, just stop eating dietary fat. That will do it for you. Just put some hair gel in your hair. That will do it for you. That's right. Behave. Yeah. Behave. Behave. That's a good one. Now, as a parent, I have to say, it's not an easy job to be a parent. And I aspire to do better. I have not been the best parent. Uh, I forgive myself for that. But I really can appreciate how, from firsthand experience, how challenging it is because, of course, from the point of view, we've all been children, right? I mean, every single one of us has been a child, and so we've had that experience uh, of of in one way or another, whether it was from our parents or it was from our grandparents or it was from neighbors or it was from teachers, or if, God forbid, somehow we got through childhood and then we got into our adulthood. At some point, somebody said, behave. And if you don't, I'll show you, right? And there's always a threat involved. Um, so we've all had that experience, and we know how challenging that can be, how scary that can be. Behave. I mean, it's sort of like what I described with being told that in fifth grade that I smelled bad to other people, specifically my mother. She's the one that informed me. And then after that, sometime my teacher had to talk with our whole class because I guess I wasn't the only one. And I was like, I'm ahead of the game now. My mom already t had this talk with me. Uh, but you know, to be in that position where you're told something like you're just being yourself. You didn't know that you were causing problems. You didn't know that you were a problem for anybody. Because you were not thinking in that way at all. No child is thinking, how can I cause problems for other people today? There's no way. No child thinks that way. The child is God bless them. They're only just focused on trying to get through, you know. That's all. They, they're either just like trying to enjoy themselves, being themselves, living their life, doing their thing, fulfilling their purpose, or just trying to survive. They're not trying to cause anybody problems, not consciously at least. I mean, as a strategy, unconsciously, of course, sure, you know. I mean, that can, it's like you tell me to behave. Oh, yeah, look, watch this. But they're not, no, they're so innocent. Uh, but so we've all had that experience and we can know how like confusing that can be to be told you are a problem, you smell bad, you're the, you know, why don't you just sit down and shut up and behave? Why are you ruining my peace and quiet? Don't you know you're supposed to just be in your row at your desk and you have to raise your hand? Why are you doing these things? And you're like, I just gotta pee. And then they get upset with you because you pee your pants and like, oh my goodness, double bind. So there's that. And then from the parent point of view, at least my own point of view, uh, sometimes I can forget. You know, sometimes it's like I what you know, it's like I'm just like, enough already. Enough. Would you just be quiet, please? Would you just knock it off already? Would you stop? Would you just regulate your own emotions, please, instead of me having to intervene and help you out with this? Could you please just do it on your own? So I have I just want to honor parents that it's not like parents take a lot of shit and and rightfully so, but on the other hand, it's a hard job. Uh okay, so where was I before I got derailed by that comment about behaving? I don't remember. Uh anyway, what I think very few of us got, and certainly not enough of in our lives, was that support and the consistent reminder that you don't owe anything to anybody. You don't have to conform. You don't have to make other people comfortable. That's not what you're here for. You were gifted with yourself, and your only job is to honor that, to be yourself. Imagine how different that would be if you'd had that. Imagine if you'd had that every day. Imagine if your mother and your father and your uncles and your aunts and your grandparents and your teachers and your friends, if all of them had just been there reminding you, telling you, you just be yourself. You don't owe us anything. You don't have to do anything for us. You don't have to try to solve our problems. You don't have to make us comfortable. That's not your job. You do your thing. So just when you think about it in contrast, you maybe can start to see what a how it's easy to get confused because we didn't have that. At least most of us did. I didn't have that. I assume most of us didn't have that. Don't have that. So if you think about that for a moment, you notice the contrast between what it seems like the society has been telling you and this alternative that I'm proposing to have that consistent, persistent support and encouragement reminder that you're here to be you. Not in some sort of superficial way. Not and by the way, this is why, and I'm going to get to this in a moment, hopefully. This is why I think there's this other way of seeing what it is that society is offering us, the support that it's offering us through the challenge, I think is really useful because it's only through that, I think, that we are able to get a refined view, to get clear enough on the depths of who we are, not just the superficial, but actually at a deep level. Who are you? At a refined level. Uh, but let's just start for a moment. Just imagine again what it would be like if you had that support, that reminder, that encouragement. That would be different, wouldn't it? So what would that allow you to do differently? Or how would you live your life differently if you had that support and reminder consistently and persistently that you don't have to fit in, that you don't need anybody's approval, that you don't need to make anybody comfortable, that it's okay for you just to be yourself? How would that allow for something to be different for you in your life? Could you give more space, priority, and importance to the promptings from your heart? I mean, some of us probably have more awareness of those than others because some have really shut them down out of fear, so much so that maybe you even have a hard time hearing them at all. Maybe it gets drowned out in the I've just gotta make enough money. I've just gotta get their love. I've just gotta hold things together. I've just got to. So if you have a hard time hearing the promptings of your heart, then maybe this is not immediately clear to you. But if you have some awareness of those promptings from the heart, those things that come to you, that maybe you 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 sense that there's something true about them. But then what do you do? Maybe you do you dismiss them because you say, "Oh, that's impractical." You know, how will I make money with that? Or, "Oh, well, what will my parents think of me? What will my friends think of me? What will my spouse think of me? What will my children think of me?" Or, that might be risky, it might be scary, might be dangerous. So you you have on the one hand these promptings from the heart. And I'm not talking necessarily about things that just happen once. I mean, maybe, but m probably the easier things to recognize are the ones that are repeated, the things that come up over and over, where you get this prompting, this vision, this calling to something, whatever it is. I don't know, like write the poem, publish the poem, put on the wear the color, whatever that, the color you don't dare wear, the go to the place, do the thing, dance, sing the song, say I love you, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be big, it could be small, but it's big to you. If you had the reminder and the support to help you to to know that that's what you're here for, how would that be different for you? What would be different in your life? Conversely, what are the things that you do that you know are just not for you, but you do them because it's what you're supposed to do. It's what you have to do. Have to go to the social function, whatever it is, you have to, should, supposed to. So if you had the support and the reminder of why you're here, how would that be different? I mean, could you actually allow yourself to say no? Because no is important. If you if you think about it, in this life, there's infinite potential. So everything is there in potential. But in this life, in actuality, in action, in manifest reality, you can't do all of it. You can't have all of it. You can't experience all of it. So in order to be able to say yes to that which is well, let's just say to say yes to anything, you have to say no to everything else. And then in specific, if you want to say yes to that which is true for you, that which is on purpose for you, that which is let's say the shape of your soul, you have to say no to everything else. And so saying no is important, but uh so recognizing what do you say no to, what do you say yes to? So if you are living from the fear of society, fitting in, not fitting in, approval, disapproval, then just notice how that influences what you say yes to and what you say no to. And it would be very likely then that it would skew things toward saying yes to what you should be saying no to and saying no to what you should be saying yes to. By should, I don't mean morally, but I mean just in terms of aligning with the shape of your soul, aligning with your purpose, aligning with your gift, aligning with why you're here. I mean, think about this. We're each unique. We have so much in common. That's the reason why we can communicate. That's the reason why we can meet here in this moment together. Because otherwise there would be no basis of connection. But beyond that, we each have a unique shape, which we can see physically, right? I mean, we each have a unique physical appearance. None of us appears exactly the same. And that's a reflection of everything else that's unique about us. And that's what I'm referring to as the shape of the soul. I mean, that's like a poetic way of describing something. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's what makes you you. And I'm proposing that that's the reason why you're here. In the absence of that, what are you doing? Why are you here? I think that the danger of what this is going to be my social critique among others, apparently today. I think the danger of what has happened, at least in the United States, I don't know about elsewhere because I don't live anywhere else and I don't keep up with anything hardly, but from my own experience and perception of what has happened in the United States, I think that there's a trend toward uh, an atheistic, uh, rational material perspective, which excludes the soul and leaves no room for any purpose or any inherent value in anything. It's all empty and dead, according to that worldview. Now, some people might disagree, and that's fine. You're welcome to disagree. I'm just expressing this because I think there's some value in what I'm sharing here. Because if you ever have the sense that your life is without value, that it's purposeless, if you wake up sometimes and you feel like, you know, uh, another day to get through. And I know some people feel this way. I know a lot of people feel this way because I hear it from them. I hear it from a lot of people. I hear from uh, what to me is a surprisingly large percentage of people that they actually contemplate killing themselves. because their life seems without value. And there's hardship in life. It's not easy, I mean, you're going through life and you encounter things, and it's people disagree with you and people get upset with you, and it's cold or it's hot, and you get indigestion, or you're hungry, or you can't sleep, or you're too sleepy, or whatever. So many things go on in life and they're not comfortable. And so if your perspective on life is just like, oh, another day of discomfort, another day of fear, another day of all of this without any purpose to it, none whatsoever. It's all empty and meaningless because that's what society has taught us. Then I think that a problem with that is that we're in these cases we're mistaking the story for the reality. If the story is not working, change the story. But don't mistake the story for reality. People mistake the story that's generating their suffering for the reality, and then they think, oh, that's just how life is. That's not how life is. That's what your experience is because you're accepting the story as truth. The story that's been handed to you that you're just a problem and that life is meaningless and empty, and that, you're just going to have to just get through it one miserable day at a time. Well, who wants that? I don't. Can't imagine why anybody would want that. And what I'm proposing is something different. I'm saying that if that way isn't working for you, then just recognize, I don't know. Then here's an alternative. Recognize that that's a story that's been handed to you and it's not the truth. It's just an idea, and it's not a very good one. So trying to live your life to avoid drawing unwanted attention to yourself is it only makes sense, probably, in the context of life is just here to get through for no reason at all. And if that feels deadening, choose differently. And I'm proposing an alternative, which is that, which I think is very congruent with what we can actually perceive, which is why I'm proposing that we can perceive that each of us is unique. And I'm proposing that that uniqueness is that we can see physically, that we can feel energetically, that that uniqueness is an expression of the shape of our soul, and that our soul is we are here to tend to that, to honor that, to express that, to manifest that here in this world. And some people will say, "Oh, I don't know. Prove it to me." I'm not going to prove it to you. I'm just offering this as an alternative that you could work with and see what kind of results do you get with it. I think that you'll find that you get better results with it. That's certainly been my experience. Because if you're thinking in terms of how am I going to just eke through this, get enough money to get through until I die so that I'm not too uncomfortable, don't draw uh, too much unwanted attention to myself so that I don't have to feel too uncomfortable until I die. Well, what's the point? And what I'm proposing is that it's actually possible to live each day, each moment, each instant with a sense of aliveness connected to that source of aliveness, which is expressing through the shape of your soul, that gives you a calling, that gives you a direction, that gives you purpose, that is inviting you to investigate, to study yourself, and to say yes. So then life can be a daring adventure. And sometimes people are want to say, well, what does it matter if we're just going to die anyway? I don't know. In terms of that, if your focus is on the if you're saying, well, I'm just focused on death, which is kind of what that's revealing, right? You're like, well, what does it matter? We're all going to die anyway. Uh, then I think that just reveals that your focus is on death, and then maybe that could reveal a lot to you. If you start to notice that your focus is been on death, then it might make sense why maybe you feel kind of dead. And instead, what I'm proposing is that you could shift your focus to life, and then maybe you'd start to feel alive. Because death is this thing that you're anticipating that you're going to encounter in the future. And life is here now. Life is in this rawness of now. It's not uh, something that you can contain. It's not something you can control, but it is something that you can align with. It is something that you can be with or as. I have never surfed in my life, so I'm going to go this analogy that I'm about to use, which you can guess involves surfing, um, might be totally off base, but it's one that comes to my mind a lot, so I'm going to use it anyway. Uh, if you think about surfing, even if you've never surfed like me, you probably have an image of surfing, and maybe you've been to the ocean. I have been to the ocean. I have at least that much going for me. I've been to the ocean. I've stepped into the ocean, and I've experienced the raw power of the ocean. When I was the first time I remember going to the ocean, I think it was the first time in this lifetime that I ever went to the ocean. I was a child. I couldn't tell you exactly how old. I could have been anywhere from like 6 to 10, somewhere in there. Uh, my family, as I mentioned, I grew up in Southern Illinois. For those who don't know, that's kind of right, more or less smack dab in the middle of the country. So no ocean available right there. We had to travel quite a distance to get to the ocean, but my family took a vacation one year, somewhere in the range of when I was age 6 to 10. I don't know exactly when. We went to Virginia and went to the ocean. And I stepped in the ocean, and then the next thing I knew, I was underneath the water. I had been pulled underneath the water, and I was swirling around underneath the water. And they say, people talk about your life flashing before your eyes. My life did not flash before my eyes that I remember, but what I do recall thinking, oh, this might be the end. Like this, this might be the end. The last thing that I might remember in this life would be like swirling around in the ocean. Kind of cool, I guess, of all things. Um, but then I came up, and that really impressed upon me the power of the ocean, of life, the rawness of life. So the ocean is not a force that any of us is going to contain or control, but people do surf it. I've seen that. I lived in Southern California for a number of years, and I at one point was doing some work with a startup, and one of the founders of the startup was from Hawaii, and he told me about. He said these surfers in Southern California, he's like they don't know anything about surfing. They think a 6 foot wave is big. Uh, he said in Hawaii on one side, they have 100 foot waves, 100 foot waves, and that people routinely surf them. He surfed them, and he said that if you get if you get uh, under a wave, you'll be pushed down to the floor of the ocean. And he says the amateur mistake and the deadly mistake that people make is that as soon as the wave passes, they try to come up. Uh, he said, but the problem is that then that due to the timing, the next wave will be right upon you. So you have to time it right. And so I've never been to Hawaii. I've never seen a 100 foot wave. It still blows my mind, but I still find that hard to believe. But he's I don't think he was as uh, people say in the UK. I don't think he was taking the piss out of me. I'm pretty sure he was telling me the truth. But you might fact check that and tell me he was taking the piss out of me. But don't rain on my parade. I like the idea of 100 foot waves. But the point is, you're not going to control the ocean, right? Is there anybody here thinks you're going to control the ocean? Somebody's going to say yes. Somebody, there's always somebody who thinks they will, and more power to you. But that's to me, it's analogous to life. I'm not going to control life, but I can surf it. And uh, so each of us has been given a path to surf. That's what I'm referring to as the shape of the soul. It's your unique path to surf. And so think about this. I think for a moment, how long do you plan to live? Then, come up with something. Okay, you live to be 80, 90, 99. That's a nice number, 99. 112, 150. Some people are still banking on the singularity, so there's that. Um, but figure it out. Just come up with a number. Okay, so imagine you're going to live to be that old, and then how figure out how you're going to die, right? And imagine the moment of death. You're going to have regrets. I mean, if you keep living the way you have been living up to now, are you going to have regrets? Because if you can honestly say, if I keep living the way that I have been living and I will have zero regrets, awesome. It sounds like you're already surfing the shape of your soul. Keep it up. But if you would say, no, I think I might have some regrets, then that could be a wake-up call to you. So you might not be tight rolling your pants or ironing your shirts or gelling your hair, or you might be, you might. And and maybe those things are part of what's true for you. That might be part of your path. So I'm not saying that those things are always inherently problematic. For some people, that's just true for them. It's not, they're not doing it for anybody else. They're not doing it to avoid the uh, being embarrassed or humiliated or ridiculed or anything. They're maybe doing it because that's an authentic expression for themselves. It's part of their art. But uh, if if you are doing things, if you're living your life in ways that are trying to avoid what you're afraid of, you're probably going to end up with some regrets if you keep that up. And what I'm wanting to propose is maybe it's, there's that internet meme. So it goes, I'm not that up to date, so I'm like an old fogey in this regard. But it's something like you had one job. Do you know that meme? You had one job. Did I get it right? You had one job. Do you know this one? Yeah. So think about that. You had one job. Be yourself on that final breath. What will be the assessment? Did you nail it, or did you sell yourself short? Did you betray yourself out of fear? And if you would say, if I keep up what I've been doing, I'd have to say I betrayed myself. It's not too late. Can't be too late. I would say uh, until the very last instant, there's still time. But why wait? Because what I'm proposing again is that you could live focused on death and end up feeling dead. To the degree that you feel dead, it's probably because you're focused on death, because you're trying to avoid what you think is going to be painful to you, but which is actually calling you. And what I'm saying is you don't have to live even another instant feeling dead. It's a choice. You could choose life now. Just try it out for an instant. Like right now, just within yourself, just try it out saying yes to life. Just notice what is that like if you just say, you could even just say the word yes and notice what that experience is like. Yes to life. You just say yes to life. Yes to the gift of myself. Yes to the shape of my soul. Yes to my authentic purpose. How's that for a cheery message? Is that cheery? Some people don't look cheery. I can see not cheery expressions there. So if you have questions, concerns, doubts, uh, criticisms, please, well, I'll first prioritize things that come in the chat. That way I can just keep the recording going and put the whole thing on YouTube. That's easier for me. If that does not work for you, if you have something that's really important to discuss uh, in words, then we'll I'll take some time for that after addressing the things that come through the chat. So anything that comes, if you have anything, feel free to put it in the chat. All right, all right, let me see here. So I think this is from today. This is from like straight away. Somebody put this. It's amazing. They didn't even wait for any, even say anything. But here it is in the chat. It says, for the rapid resolution method, for example, to improve confidence when playing sport, how would I go about releasing the charge so I can play with confidence? Well, for those who are not familiar, the rapid resolution method is I have a video or two on YouTube where I describe that. I don't think rapid resolution is in the title, so I can't give you a good reference to find it. Uh, but the idea with the rapid resolution method is to um, it's great. It's actually it's very intuitive of you to have asked that question today because it's very much, I would say, in line with what I talked about today. Because the purpose of the rapid resolution method is to notice where we have unwanted emotional charge attached to uh, thoughts, ideas, memories, images, people, places, whatever. And that holds is holding us back from allowing ourselves to fully say yes to our lives. Um, so you're asking specifically, how would I recommend using the rapid resolution method to improve confidence when playing sports? Uh, and you're presupposing that I would recommend using it for that purpose, or that it would be the best approach or the first line approach, which I don't know is necessarily true. Um, but since you asked this specific question, I will answer this specific question. So if I was to use the rapid resolution method, I would not use it in this context to improve confidence. Uh, what I would because that's not really what it's intended for. That might be a byproduct, but that wouldn't be how I would recommend specifically uh, intending to use it. What I would suggest instead would be to notice when you are playing sports, uh, when you either in the moment or in when you imagine it or think about it now, uh, what comes up for you that has an emotional charge? Then what I would recommend that you do is ask the question. So you notice how you feel in that moment when that emotional charge is present. And then ask yourself, when is the first time I can remember feeling this feeling? So you want to notice uh, the the emotional charge, how you feel, and then ask, when is the first time I can remember feeling this feeling? Whatever the earliest memory is that comes up, work with that. So it doesn't have to be the first time that you ever felt that feeling. It's the first time that you can remember now. That's the important thing. So it might have, maybe it's just yesterday, maybe it was last week, maybe it was when you were 10 years old, maybe it was when you're 5 years old, whatever it is, the earliest memory that comes up when you can remember feeling that feeling. You're going to work with that. Notice the emotional charge attached to that. Give that a rating uh, on a scale from 0 to 10 of intensity. Then go through the rest of the process as usual uh, until the intensity attached to that memory drops down to a 0, and you cannot provoke it. Then go back to thinking about the specifics of um, the context in which you were experiencing that emotional charge connected to playing sport, and notice if there's still an emotional charge. If there's not, then you've already cleared that. If there is, then notice that feeling. It will be a different feeling. And then you'll repeat the same process. When is the first time I can remember feeling that feeling? And just continue that way until you've completely resolved the charge connected to that uh, specific detail of playing sport. There might be multiple things connected to unwanted emotional charges connected to playing sport. So you'd have to go through that process for each of them. But that's how I would approach it. Uh, Somebody says they remember the jeans and all the trendy things. Their family didn't have money for, like the hair gel, the Levi's, the Nintendo, and the popular shirt brands. It was very painful at the time to be the only kid whose family didn't have the money. Yeah. And my proposal is that all of that, and this is just a proposal for you to do with what you will. I'm suggesting this because I think it can be a useful thing. Um, I'm proposing that all of that is part of the intelligence that has given that is the shape of what I'm calling the shape of your soul. So that experience of not having the money and being in a time and place where there was a pressure to conform, to have those things in order to fit in. Uh, all of that combined provided you with exactly the right challenges for you to then be able to discover that unique shape of your soul. Now, like for me, my family was able to provide those things. Uh, and so that was congruent with the shape of my soul. Now, I, as I described earlier, I continued that my focus continued to be very much one of being asleep. Did not ask the questions of who am I and what really matters. So those circumstances at that time encouraged for me to continue to remain asleep and continue to produce suffering for myself, which just continued to increase and increase and increase and increase and increase for many years and decades. And now I'm able to uh, receive and welcome with gratitude all of that because that offers me uh, direct knowledge and compassion, which is useful to me in expressing my unique purpose in life. Like to the extent that this meeting is of value, it's in part because of those experiences that allowed me to uh, learn, even if most of that learning happened only in retrospect. So for you, the fact that your family did not have the money and that you experienced that particular kind of pain gave shape to your experience in such a way that allows you to more fully be yourself and express yourself. And that allows you, when you are being yourself and expressing yourself authentically, because informed by those experiences, that also then connects to others who can resonate in that particular way, and it like gives them it's like a bell ringing that they can hear, that gives them the wake up call that allows them, if they're willing and ready, to start to say yes to themselves. Like I really, another one of my beliefs, I believe we're all in this together. So to the extent that I'm willing to say yes to the gift that I've been given of myself, then that expression, that authentic expression, makes connections, like maybe with you, that gives you that it's like ringing that little bell for you. If I, when I say, okay, the jeans, the shirts, the things, then for you that rang a little bell. It's not exactly the same as my experience, but it's similar enough that there was a resonance that allows for you then to have that little wake up call, which is calling you to say yes to yourself. And by you then saying yes to yourself, then that touches others. There's a ripple effect. So the more that we say yes to ourselves, the more that we're offering that support and encouragement to others. Somebody says, I was in those special education classes. Amazing. And that what I'm proposing is, as uh that unique experience for you was exactly the the perfect conditions to invite you to say yes to yourself, even if in retrospect. And I'm saying this not to suggest that, and that like that was a very specific experience. It's not something that needs to be repeated. It can't be repeated. So I'm not proposing there was something inherently better about that the U.S. Uh, public education system should revert to its practices from the 1980s and 1990s. I'm just saying that from the point of view that I'm proposing, each of us, we could look at things and say, that's bad, that's a problem, I'm bad, I'm a problem, everything's a problem, needs to be fixed. Or we could say yes to the that intelligence which is giving, which is in us and through us, which is inviting us to really be alive, which we could do now. We could say yes to that now. We could choose that now. Uh, so thank you for sharing that. Somebody says American public school is like military training in obedience. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what it's like now. I can't really compare because I was never in the military. So somebody who both had a public education, U.S. public education experience and was in the military would maybe be able to chime in on that. Somebody says, how can we integrate it in our daily actions? By it, uh, I'm guessing, but you could tell me if I'm wrong. I'm guessing you mean it. It means the shape of our soul. So I would say uh, a lot of the things that I often recommend are intended for this purpose. So one would be um, to ask the question sincerely on a daily basis, or at least often, what do I really want? So what do I really want? Uh, Seems like such a simple question, but it's a really rich question. It's a it's like on the surface, I think sometimes people say, "Oh, I don't know. I have no idea what I want." But other people will say, "Oh, I already know what I want." That's easy. They think they know. But I would propose if you think you already know what you want, or if you think you don't know what you want, either way, asking the question on a regular basis will almost certainly offer new insight that can enrich your life. Just to ask that question, what do I really want? And then just to really contemplate that and be willing to answer that in an uncensored way. Because what I'm suggesting is that there's a uh, this intelligence which is in everything, as everything, which is in you as you, uh, has shaped you in a particular way for a purpose, and that expresses or can't it well, it does express through the feeling of desire, the experience of desire. And uh, it's a skill that we can develop to really connect deeply to that desire. If we dismiss desire as bad, then we won't connect to it. And if we um, indulge desire only at a superficial level, where we just say, "Oh, I want it, I'll get it," then we also rob ourselves of the opportunity to have this deeper, more intimate connection with that. Because I'm proposing that that desire is the expression of that intelligence, and there's a like a dance, a uh, relationship that is there that's inviting us to explore that more deeply and intimately. And that the more we do that, the more alive we are, the more enriched our experiences. So that would be the first thing is just on a regular basis, what do I really want? Second thing would be to notice in light of what it is that you want or the growing clarity that you have about what you want, notice what is it that seems to interfere with that. So if I get the clarity that what I want is to compete in compete and win a strongman contest, then uh, when I imagine that, then the next thing that will come up most likely, I mean, for me personally, would be some limiting beliefs. Well, I'm too old. I'm I'm not strong enough. Can't get strong enough. It's too hard. So the limiting beliefs, which are interfering with that. Uh, so that would be the basic formula that I would recommend would be most people overlook this, they dismiss it because they say, well, it's not fancy enough, or uh I don't know, various reasons why. My recommendation though is actually try it out for, let's say, a minimum of 30 days every day. Ask yourself the question, what do I really want? And allow yourself to to write for at least a few minutes in an uncensored fashion your response to that, and then go back through what you wrote and notice what really can you connect to in your heart. What really do you, when you think about that or imagine that, do you feel uh, a connection to that, some enthusiasm, even if there's also fear associated with it? And then as you imagine that, imagine actually having that or achieving that. Just notice what are the limiting beliefs or the limitations that come up for you, and then start to release those. If you do that every day for 30 days, I mean, minimum starting 30 days, I really think that you would find that that you would notice that your life is enriched. You would notice more aliveness. Uh, okay, so somebody says, I've begun a physio training 3 months ago and moved out, but it was from the notion of I just have to do something with my life. Now, also with learning about Sarno, I can see how most of what we learn isn't holistic or all that efficient in treating pain slash other symptoms. What is your advice? I think my parents would be devastated if I would quit. Uh, so, uh, are you living your life to please your parents? Is that the purpose of your life? Because if so, then it would make a lot of sense that you would determine what you do based on what you think the effect would be on how your parents feel. Um, but if that's not why, if that's not the purpose of your life is to make your parents happy or help them to feel good, um, then I would recommend making choices based on what is true for you instead of other things. Um, so it seems, and with that said, you say that you began a physio training 3 months ago and moved up, but it was from the notion of I just have to do something with my life. So you just have to do something with your life. I mean, how many things would you say there are to do with your life? A lot. I'm going to answer that, right? There's a lot, like countless things that you could do with your life. So you didn't you didn't choose just anything. You chose this physio training specifically. So you could think that the physio training was just a random thing. It's meaningless. But I think it's not. I think, like I said, of all you could have done infinitely many things, but you chose specifically this one thing. So there's something there that I would not recommend being dismissive of. Uh, then you say that you have these thoughts that most of what you're learning, I assume, in the physio training, isn't holistic or all that efficient in treating pain slash other symptoms. That's a thought that you have. Might be a useful thought. It might be a thought that's aligned with some greater truth for you. Um, but it's worth investigating to see if that is what's really going on there. Uh, I think that um, if you if you allow yourself to just keep an open mind instead of assuming that you should do the physio training, you have to do the physio training, you should not do the physio training, doing the physio training is bad. Instead of making any assumptions about it of any kind, just keep an open mind and just ask yourself, what do you really want? Basically, go through the exercise that I described a moment ago. Uh, because if you're moving away from what you don't want, then you could move any direction and it would move you away from what you don't want. But it's not, but the likelihood of it moving you toward what you do want is infinitesimally small. So if you think about like in space, if there's a point that represents what you don't want and you happen to be there, then any direction will take you away from that. But then if you think, but somewhere in space, there's also what you do want. So there, from what you don't want, there's only one direction that moves you toward what you do want. But if you're just moving away from what you don't want, the likelihood of you moving in that particular direction is very, 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 very small. So instead of just moving away from what you don't want, I think it's enormously more efficient to get clarity about what you do want. And oftentimes you might be surprised to discover that where you are is actually already much closer to and more aligned with what you do want than you initially imagined. But in any case, I would recommend getting clarity about what you do want instead of just moving away from what you don't want. Somebody says, I have my passions, but what most people do is go to work and do a 9 to 5, buy a house. I honestly question these things and say, what's the point? What's the point of having a career in something you don't really want to do? So it's better, I think, to do what you love. I'm wondering, is it normal to think to myself, I really can't be bothered doing a pointless job? I enjoy life, but doing these jobs to me is pointless. Other people may disagree. I enjoy life outside of work. I think we work because we think we have to just pay the bills, etc. I can't be bothered pretending that I love spending 40 hours doing a meaningless job. It's just honest and say I'm just honest and say it's a waste of time, but at the same time, keeping yourself occupied is good. We are never satisfied, so this approach to me is not sustainable in finding true fulfillment and satisfaction. Well, uh, so yeah, I mean, you said I have to find this in here. I think you said we think we have to just pay the bills. I can't. So what you really mean is you think that you have to. So forget about other people. You don't know about other people. There may be other people who the at least for in this moment in their life working a 40-hour a week job doing something, whatever that is, might be exactly what's true and right for them. But what you're describing is that there's something in you that's prompting you to investigate this more deeply. And what I hear you saying is that there's a lot of focus on what you don't want. You don't want to work the job that you perceive is pointless and meaningless. But what, similar to the previous question from the other person, you're if you're focused on getting away from what you don't want, you're you're not focused on what you do want. And I already illustrated it, why I think that matters, but I'll do it one more time. Okay. So if If this point, my tip of my finger here, is what you don't want, and you're trying to get away from that, then any direction will do, right? In three-dimensional space, you can move forward, you can move backward, you can move up, you can move down, you can move left, you can move right, you can move any direction whatsoever, and it will move you away from this. But that's not what you actually want. So just moving away from what you don't want, probably not that helpful. So that's why I recommend, if I can get the other point here. There we go. This little finger here. This is what you do want. Now, if you're over here, then there's a path that will get you from here to here, right? From where you are to where you want to be. If you're focused on trying to get away from here, the chance that you're going to select the one path out of infinitely many paths that will take you to where you want to go is pretty much zero. So close to zero, we'll just call it zero. So instead of trying to get away from what you don't want, I'm proposing focus on what you do want. Focus on what you do want, and then you'll start to move toward what you do want, or bring what you do want to you, or bring what you do want out into manifestation, or however you want to think about it. But the point is, focus on what you do want. So every day, it's like a broken record. Every day, take a few minutes and write your answer in an uncensored fashion to what do I want. Now, keep in mind what I've said today. There's all of this conditioning that says, oh, I have to be reasonable. I don't want to upset people. I don't want to, I don't want to mess up and be uncomfortable. I don't want to do this, that, and the other thing. So, and these layers are so practiced and rehearsed and so fast that if you are not careful, you'll censor yourself. You won't even allow yourself to consciously access what you want because you'll dismiss it out of hand. You'll say, oh, without thinking about it, without being conscious of it, there'll be a part of your mind that says, can't have that. That's impossible. That's stupid. That's foolish. That's going to be risky. People will think badly of me. I might be a fool. I might fall down. I might get hurt. I might embarrass myself. I might go bankrupt. I might go to prison. I mean, all these things. And so you'll dismiss it out of hand. This is why I, it, it's a practice. If you do this sincerely, consistently, in the way that I'm describing, where you allow yourself to just answer in an uncensored way, write it down. Do not censor yourself. Whatever comes out, write it down. You're not committing to any of these things. It doesn't, you write anything at all, you're not committing to it. You could write obscenities. It doesn't matter. You're not committing to anything. The point is allow for these things to start to flow so that you can start to give voice and expression to what it is that's there in you that's calling for expression, but that you have learned to deny and reject. And if you don't do that, then you know what you're going to keep doing? Same thing you've always been doing, which you just described, which is you're caught in this bind. You're like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to work this job. This seems pointless and meaningless to me, but I guess I've got to. I don't want to, but I got to. I don't want to, but I got to. And you'll just keep doing that. Because in the absence of either divine intervention or a conscious and persistent effort on our part to actually produce some change, we'll keep doing the same thing. It's just how it goes. So if you want something different, I'm proposing a way that you could do it. Is it the only way? No, it's just reasonably simple, efficient way that I know of that I'm pretty sure will work for you as long as you do it. So just to recap, take a few minutes every day. Get a notebook. If you don't have a notebook, start with whatever you got. But get a notebook. It'll be nice for you. And every day, just take a few minutes, maybe fill a page. If you want to do 3 pages, do 3 pages. That's the Julia Cameron Artist Way approach. 3 pages if you want to go all in. But the idea is, so I'm modifying this slightly from the artist way approach. The artist way approach is anything goes, but this is more focused. What do I want? And just write, what do I want? Uncensored. And then go back through that and just notice what did you just write that when you go back through that, you're like, ooh, it lights you up a little bit. It might seem scary, it might seem threatening, but there's something there. You're like, ooh, you feel a little alive, a lot alive, maybe. Then you notice, okay, when I imagine that, what comes up? What limitations? Because that's what's holding you back, right? Like now you know what you want. At least you have more clarity about what you want. What holds you back from that? Limitations that you're holding in mind, not that actually exist objectively, but limitations that you believe in. So you hopefully that's clear. If you do that for at least 30 days every day. If you miss a day, you got to start over, right? So you do 30 consecutive days. If you do 29 days and then you skip the 30th, you got to start over. Do 30 consecutive days, then let me know how your life has changed, or call bullshit if you want, but let me know after you've actually done it for 30 days. Somebody says, I think to myself, is my purpose to acquire or build wealth, enjoy peak experiences? But very recently, I've been thinking to myself, maybe, yeah. When I ask, what do I really want? Peace and contentment. Yeah. But again, I don't know. I'm not too sure. Okay, so great. So, I mean, first of all, congratulations because you're taking action. Uh, Most people don't. I've noticed. So most people therefore don't get the results, but those who are willing to take the action will get the results, which you're doing. So that's amazing that you're actually asking that question, and you're seeing results because you started out in one place thinking, well, maybe my purpose is to acquire or build wealth, enjoy peak experiences, which, by the way, uh, there's something there of truth for you because, and I'm not saying that's it on the surf as it's expressed on the surface, but I'm saying that in terms of there's something about that entry point that is truthful for you in some way because notice of all the possibilities, that's what came to you. That would not come to everybody. That came to you. So there's something there, but as you continue to explore it, what you're finding is, well, maybe what I really want is peace and contentment. Great. I mean, so in some way, that should happen. The reason why is that uh, building, acquiring or building wealth or enjoying peak experiences are conditional, and peace and contentment are unconditional. So what you're ultimately always wanting, this is my belief, is unconditional. Something that you can access unconditionally. It's already true within you. And then, unless you happen to become simultaneously completely enlightened, there's still going to be some particular way in which that is going to express in your life. You're still going to be making choices. Your life is going to look like something. Somebody's going to be able to distinguish between you and everybody else. They're going to be able to say, well, that's where that's where that person lives. That's the car that that person drives. That's that's how that person looks. That's how that person behaves. That's how that person speaks. So there's some unique way in which that expresses. There's some unique way in which that peace and contentment expresses through you in your life. So it's both. It's both the unconditional and the conditional. Of course, the thing about the conditional is to have the wisdom to recognize that it is conditional, that it's not there all the time. It can't be. It does. So you have to cultivate uh, that non-attachment because it's sometimes there, sometimes not. But you have clarity about this is what it looks like. This is the shape. This is the direction. But have non-attachment to the particulars of holding on to that looking a particular way all the time. But the through line is the peace and contentment. So it's both. And you're like, just I would say just keep asking that question. It's not, from my perspective, that is an ongoing activity. It's not something that you do once or twice or three times or 10 times or 100 times, and then you're like, now I'm going to coast. I got it all figured out. It's an ongoing process that continues to evolve, that's evolving us. Somebody's a fan of Virginia, apparently. Uh, Somebody says, I already have a lot of regrets, but a lot was beyond my capacity at the time. Uh, Good news is you can choose to let go of those regrets. I would really recommend it. Somebody has the provided the link for rapid resolution and active relaxation method. Amazing. So that's there in the chat for the people who want that. Um, okay, so somebody says, I don't know what it means to be supported. I've lived most of my life supporting others and myself. I've been giving all my life, doing everything single-handedly, and to be honest, I'm very, very, very tired, exhausted. I don't say it or show it because I don't really have a choice. I also know my life has meaning. It is not about me. It's about the difference I make. So I continually choose to take care and serve others, family, kids, clients, etc. If I didn't have to work for money, I'd probably do things very differently. Despite it all, I've taken my company to be the top 1%, and I know God did it, not me. That's why I want to make enough money so I don't have to worry. Sorry to laugh. Not sorry to laugh. I'm laughing because how much money will you need in order to not worry? I think, you got to not worry first, and then you'll have enough money. Uh, so I can truly do what my soul wants me to really do. Well, I mean, so the thing is, think about this. Uh, if you say that in order to have permission to truly do what your soul wants you to really do, you need a certain amount of money. And you don't have that money yet. You say, I need $100 million, and then I can truly do what my soul really wants me to do. So, you can't start yet. Need you get $1 million. Nope, not ready yet. Need 100 million. 50 million. Nope, can't start yet. 99 million. Nope, can't start yet. Well, what if you die when you have $99.9 million? So close. You almost were ready to start, but unfortunately you died before you could start because you had to have the $100 million before you could start. So uh I say don't create conditions. I I you're just notice, okay, now there's something can be something very unreasonable about the calling of your soul, the prompting, the urging, because it's like it says, uh, you're like, 2 years old, and it says, do this thing, change the world. And you're like, you're like, I'm still trying to figure out how to, put this star shape through the star-shaped hole. Still trying to figure that out. Plastic toys, just trying to figure that out. Sure you got the right person. And so it can be something very unreasonable, in that way. because the soul doesn't know anything about those limitations. Those are limitations of a different order. So there's that. So, each thing there is a sequence of activities, actions that need to take place in this life that are natural. You need to, as they say, you need to walk before you run. You need to crawl before you walk. You need to learn to roll over before you can crawl. You need to lift your head before you can roll over. I mean, there's all these things that need to happen in a particular sequence. Um, so there's that. But if you say, this is why I say there's a relationship. Okay, so the relationship is this. The soul says, do this thing, and you say, I don't know how, I'm not ready. And you say, so you create the conditions. You say, okay, I'll be ready when. Mhm. But as I'm saying, the flaw in that is ready when is not now, right? And so if you die now, you 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 failed. Sorry to put it in the such strong terms, but you had, well, how does it go? You had one job? Is that how it goes? I forget. I'm so out of touch. One job. Um, so you have one job and you failed. So what I'm proposing is something, it's a that's why I say it's a relationship. So you get this prompting and it says, you can do this thing, and you're like, how do I do that thing? Only way I know to do that thing is I need to have $100 million first. Well, here would be the question I would ask. I mean, I'm not saying this is necessarily the perfect question, but it's the question that comes to mind that I would ask. What can I do right now, which is aligned with this calling, this prompting? What can I do right now? What can I, what can I do right now that I can wholeheartedly say yes to? Not that not I should. I'll do it out of obligation. I'll do it so that I don't feel bad or get punished. But what could I actually say yes to? Does not have to be big. It's what can I do right now that I can wholeheartedly say yes to that's aligned with this calling? Uh, because if you keep creating conditions, then you keep postponing. But if you ask that question, what can I do right now? Uh, you're you're fulfilling that calling now. I don't really know uh, exactly how every detail of things works. So I don't know how much the uh, specific outcomes matter. Maybe they matter a great deal, and maybe they matter nothing at all, and maybe it's something in between. So I don't know for sure whether taking the action that you can take, that you can say wholeheartedly yes to right now, that's aligned with that vision, that calling. I don't know if that is absolutely a completion in and of itself. It might be for now in this moment. Like if you were to drop dead right now, maybe that's sufficient. Maybe it's not, but at least it's a movement in the right direction versus not now. Once these conditions are met, then I'll do it. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. And you say, I want to create and leave a legacy, lessons that will make an impact forever long after I'm gone, not just some stupid crap money. Uh, so great. I mean, so you have more clarity about that. Um, I mean, that gives you direction. I would say that to me, that's for me, it's always an ongoing process of asking that question, what do I really want? So in this moment, you have when you ask that question, what do I really want? What comes to mind is, well, it's not just about the stupid money crap. It's about creating and leaving a legacy lessons that will make an impact forever long after I'm gone. Okay, great, interesting. And is that the end of the line? Is that the final answer, or is that just like an unveiling of the next level of clarity that's moving you in a direction? I would say probably it's moving you in a direction. So I would just keep that channel open, that channel of communication. Just continue to ask that question: what do I really want? What is this calling? How do I say yes to it? What can I say yes to right now? Um, and as you continue to explore that, I think that you'll find uh, that that is much more alive and fulfilling. So you say you don't know what it means to be supported. Well, what I'm saying is to be supported. I probably didn't clarify this. I think I didn't get to it enough. But what I was saying is, seen one way, society is working against you. Seen another way, society, not consciously necessarily, because the individuals in society appear, at least appear primarily to be asleep and rather like hostile and afraid. But um, but as an overall intelligence or the intelligence which gives rise to society, the intelligence of life, you could see it as being the support because it's there to shape you. It's there to give you the direction. It's there to give you the feedback. So you could choose to play with this. And so you're looking, you say, I've lived most of my life supporting others and myself. Okay. On one level, true. To the degree that that's useful for you, great. And it sounds like there's a way in which that's not useful for you. So it could be useful in some ways, but not useful in other ways. So keep what's useful, but then the part that's not useful, I'm just proposing you could start to open up to uh, what if what if life is supporting me, always supporting me? What if it has always been supporting me? What if it has been helping to give shape to me so that I can fulfill this purpose of my life? What if it's been revealing to me what really matters to me? What if it's been helping me to develop the skills, the knowledge, the compassion, the clarity so that I can really commit and go all in? It's just a shift in perspective. But I find that it can make a big difference. And so the I'm very, very, very tired, exhausted. I think that comes from I'm doing this on my own. All depends upon me. And probably if you start to experiment with what I'm proposing, you might find that that's why I call it a relationship. There's something here. There's an intelligence, a consciousness, a presence, a aspect of your own self, which uh, is supporting you, collaborating with you, empowering you, encouraging you, helping you. You feel alone because you've been taught to uh, deny this presence. And you know what the consequence of that is. The consequence is you feel very, very, very tired and exhausted, which doesn't sound like something you want. Doesn't sound very good. So I'm proposing an alternative, which is what if that way that you've been experiencing life is the consequence of your perception and your beliefs, and or this, in other words, the story, I have to do this. I have to support myself. I'm alone. And to the degree that that's not working, you could experiment with changing that, shifting that, trying on this new story. What if I'm supported, cared for, guided by this loving presence, which wants my good, which has encouraged me to fulfill my purpose, which is here with me every step of the way, in every experience, both now and in the past and in the future. I might not have recognized it in the past, but I can recognize it now. That's the miracle, is that that reality is not bound by time. So just because in the past you didn't recognize it, just because in the past you were closed off, just because in the past you were asleep, doesn't mean that you cannot open now to the support that was always there, to the loving presence that was always there. That's possible now, to open to that and to receive all of that now. And I'm proposing the more that you work with that, the more that can shift that experience, so that instead of feeling very, very, very tired, you could feel very, very, very blessed. Not because you say, "Oh, I'm going to do my gratitude journal." I'm not trying to poo-poo the gratitude journal, but I'm just saying that if it's another thing that you have to do in order to help yourself, then that's nice, but that's coming out of that old paradigm. And what I'm proposing is something that's a little different than that, which is to actually start to be able to really receive that support, so that you could just ask, you could just say, like, I'm falling back on old confusion. Support me in this new way. Support me so that I can genuinely, truly experience being very, very, very blessed. Not in some forced, pretentious way, but in an authentic way. Like you can ask for that. You can ask to have that revealed to you. You can say, uh, my eyes have uh, become had forgotten how to see in this new way. Help me. And then just be willing to receive that. I mean, uh, so verse from the Bible, from the uh, book of James, uh, those who have not ask not. So if you if you don't have, you probably haven't asked, right? If you don't have the sense of being very, very, very blessed, you probably forgot to ask. So it's just a reminder to ask. You just say, I forgot to ask to experience being very, very, very blessed. And then it starts to feed into itself, because you can start to realize then when you're perceiving in the old way, you start thinking, oh, I'm so very, very, very tired. Then serves as the reminder. It's like that's the support. The support is there. It's there like a guardrail. It's letting you know. It's like, hey, you, you're feeling very, very, very tired. What do I do? Oh yeah, I forgot to ask. You just ask and then receive. Uh, it really is. We have to. I think we have to do our part. So you have to do the what you can do. You have to be willing to ask. You have to be willing to receive. You have to be willing to investigate. You have to be willing to question. But how much more than that can you do? Like that's why I gave that analogy of the ocean. It's too big. What, you gonna do the ocean? You gonna do the cosmos? All right, you star go over there, and this other star you go there. You're like, oh no, I got confused. Which star is which? Let's start over again. It's too much. But that's why I say that there's clearly, to me, clearly an intelligence which is here, which is supporting, which is loving, which is nurturing. But so our job, I believe, is just to ask. I mean, if you really wanted to simplify, I would say ask, receive. The other things, like add 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 some little sprinkle some other stuff on top to like spice that up. But at the foundation, just if you can only remember two things, ask, receive. If you don't, if you're not liking what you're experiencing, it's a reminder to ask, help me to see in a good way. Help me to remember what gives better results. Help me to uh, know whatever I need to know. And then be willing to receive that. The asking and the receiving, this, like on the one hand, it's very simple. On the other hand, there's such a richness and depth to it. That's why I say, what do I really want? So that's the question, right? What do I really want? And then to receive. Okay, now I'm receiving the answer. I have to be willing to receive it, which is why I suggest write it down. You're receiving, but then how much of that do you reject? A lot of it we reject for the reasons that I gave earlier. You ask, what do I really want? And then the answer comes to you, and it's like, you know, uh, you know, d dance on stages, and you're like that, that's not it. That's not it. That was like stray. What do you call this? A brain fart? Like that was not that wasn't like static noise and nothing. So you tune it out completely. You're getting the answer, but you disregard it. So you're not receiving it. So that's why I say it's on the surface, it seems like so simple. It is. It's also requires it's an art that requires that you're willing to actually work with it because otherwise people will think, oh, no, it's like it's too simple. It's too stupid. That can't help me. But to ask and to receive, it's actually kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal. These are skills that fundamental skills that it works in every domain. I mean, even in like very mundane sense. Think about people who they just don't ask for what they want. You want you're like people people don't ask for what they want sexually. They don't ask for what they want financially. They don't ask for what they want in terms of their environment, their home. They don't ask. Then, even if a person asks, then what do? Oh, no, oh, they get all uncomfortable. Forget about it. Forget about it. I don't know why. I shouldn't have said anything. Oh, no, 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 don't do that for me. Oh, no, 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 no. So ask, receive, ask, receive. The more that you are willing to do that, the more now, it's not just a hedonistic thing. It's not just, oh, gimme, 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 because that gets old. But it's so that you can express the gift that you've been given. Because as I said earlier, that gift that you've been given, it's here for a reason. There's an intelligence that wants you to be here. Because you being here, being yourself as you are designed to be, is part of the design. I don't understand it, but I can witness the miracle of it. That's why I said earlier, like me being myself to the extent that I am willing to do that, has this ripple effect. It touches you in some way, and then that invites you in some way to be yourself. And then that has ripple effects too. So the more that we do that, it's like we're fulfilling something that's much larger than just gimme, 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 gimme. Because gimme, gimme, gimme is a stage, and uh, it's fine. Like we don't need to have shame around that. But also, the it pretty quickly does get to you're like, okay, there's got to be more than just gimme, 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 and there is. But it also comes from asking and receiving because the more you ask and receive what is true for you, the more of you expresses authentically, which gives into this creation in a way which is perfect and beautiful and supportive of the whole. Uh, People, it's very easy to complain. Um, but it complaining doesn't give us it's not a does not support creating what it is that this is actually all about. And when we're willing just to say, this is what I want, I'm willing to receive that and allow that to express authentically, then we're participating in that creative process in a way that actually is creating what it is that we actually want. So that's how I see it. Uh, Somebody fact checked the 100-foot waves in Hawaii. Uh, Not usually, but sometimes Hawaii can produce waves close to 100 feet, and a few rides may have approached that size. I'll take that. Uh, Somebody says, how do we do to not worry first, then get money? Well, I mean, so just to be fair, you can worry first and then get the money. The problem with that is that if you worry first and then you get the money, then you'll just keep worrying, right? You worry and you think, when I get the money, then I'll stop worrying. But the thing is, you're practicing worrying, so then when you get the money, you just keep worrying. So I'm not denying because I mean, think about it. There are plenty of people who worry a lot and they get the money, but then they just keep worrying. So I'm not denying that you could worry and then get money. I'm just saying that uh, if your goal is to worry, then worry. And if your goal is not to worry, then don't worry. The worry and the money they actually don't go together other than in your thinking. They're two distinct things. The So it's just out of habit. This is Hebb's law, Hebb's rule. It's one or the other. So uh, neurons that fire together wire together, which is a fancy way of saying that um, the more you practice something, the easier it becomes to do that thing because you actually your your whole being starts to organize around it to make that easier to do. Whatever you do, whatever you practice, it becomes easier for you to do that thing. So the more you worry, the easier it is to worry. And if you worry and connect that worry to money, then the easier it is for you to connect worry to money because neurons that fire together wire together. So it's like if you're worrying and you're thinking about money together over and over and over and over and over, then your whole system's like, well, let's just make that easier for you. Like it seems like you want these things to go together, so let's just make it easier. So then every time there's money, you're going to worry because why? You practiced it. The thing is, if you don't like that, it's up to you to release that. So if you practice it a lot, then it seems like money and worry go together. They don't, but they go together for you because of that habit of practicing them together. They don't actually go together. It's just that they're wired to go together for you, but you can undo that. You can definitely undo that, but the way to do that is to stop worrying and to be really clear that worry is its own thing and money is its own thing, and they don't actually have anything to do with one another. That's just your habit. So, I would, that's what I would do. I would get clear. What do you really want? It always comes back to the same thing. Skip, what do you really want? And then practice that, right? So if what you really want, you say, okay, well, I want money. And when you have the money, what will the money give you? And I don't know what it's going to give you, but if you really get down to it, it's going to be something along the lines of peace, happiness, freedom, joy, love, abundance, clarity, etc. Right? So guess what? All of the whatever it is that you actually want at the heart of it, it's available to you unconditionally already within you. So you could choose to start to practice that. So you think about, okay, I want the money. So imagine, how much money do you want? Imagine having that money and then practice accessing what it is that you really want that you've imagined you need the money in order to get, but practice accessing that within yourself unconditionally now. So if it's peace, then just imagine having the money and then practice peace, connect to peace, access peace. If there are any limiting thoughts or beliefs that come up, then surrender those, release those, so that you can free yourself of the habit of pairing the fear and the worry and the limitation with money so that you can just free yourself of those associations. So you can then be free to think of money and why not pair that with what it is you already want? You want peace? Great. Pair money with peace. You want happiness? Pair money with happiness. You want, but unconditional. Not when I get the money, then I'll have this conditional happiness, but rather when I experience happiness. Happiness is available unconditionally within me. I can access that now. I can access that always. And I can allow myself to also imagine what I want money wise and to experience that same unconditional happiness. So then you're free to allow for that money to manifest in whatever way it does in your life in a way that's totally non-threatening to what you really want, which is that unconditional peace, happiness, or whatever else it is. So the same person says, I manifested money to not depend on the government anymore, but now I feel like I still don't have certainty I can get peace because I don't know for how long I will receive, maybe a few months. How can I deal with this to not postpone what I want? It is exhausting to always tell myself it will be figured out later. I want consistent stability. Like I can go to Turkey now, then I think next month I will struggle, but this is not true because I will receive money too. And another part of me thinks it's not a solution to go to Turkey, and the other part just wants to get joy now and chill near the sea. I'm thinking I'm not a serious person. I should save money. Uh, well, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I would say keep working with the basics. So what do you want? And then notice when you imagine having what you want, what limiting beliefs come up and release those. So what you're wanting to do is to free yourself of these unhelpful associations that you have, where when you think of what you want, it's associated with the limitations, the fear, the uncomfortable feelings. So you want to be able to just be free to just have just be able to think of or imagine what you want without it any longer being associated with what you don't want. Um, and and through that practice of daily asking yourself, what do you want? You will get more and more clarity. It sounds like there's just more processing to do around that because you're talking about you've got, you want this thing, you want that thing. They seem to be in conflict with one another, but that's all just a part. That's part of the process that I'm describing is that um, as you continue to explore that, that will get clearer to you. And those seeming conflicts will resolve because you'll have more and more clarity about what you actually want, and that what you actually want cannot be in conflict with anything else that you actually want. Because what you actually want is whole, complete, and total. It cannot be in conflict with something else that you actually want. And anytime that you're perceiving there's some kind of conflict, it's only because you don't yet have clarity about what you actually want. Okay, somebody says, just wanted to drop in to tell people Joey's techniques really work, but you have to be consistent. Yeah. It feels like a slog, but one day you'll realize how much more liberated you are and how much closer you are to your goals than you could have ever imagined. Yeah, great. Uh, Somebody says, spent 2025 purely lowering my worry blues. I'm 90 to 95% worry free thanks to the Ask framework. Great. Um, all right. I think we did it. Thank you to all of you. Blessings to you. Take care. Bye for now.